very much, guys. New year and new team for both of you. How satisfying is it to end this first week on a win cold?
You want to take it, or?
I said cold, so this one is for you.
Oh, sorry. So right now I'm pretty happy with the game. I think we played a solid game, so that is kind of what matters. Yesterday we played well at some aspects, but others we kind of failed, and I was kind of disappointed yesterday. Like, it's the first game of the season, and you really want to show like that this team is made to be able to compete against even the best like G2, and I felt like we didn't really show what we can do if we played our best yesterday. So I'm happy we kind of redeemed ourselves today.
Absolutely, you've been able to bounce back brilliantly, and I want to come to what happened yesterday. What did you talk about with the team and the coaching staff to make it better today, Young Duck?
Well, it was mostly like we were not used to play against that draft we faced yesterday, and we were caught by surprise, like, to say the least. You know, we just didn't know how to play, so it was more like we just tried to understand how that cheese or like that strategy would work, but we knew we wouldn't face that today. So today we were more confident playing against something we are more used to play against.
And you put up a really solid draft here, some innovations, the Vayne in the mid lane. Can you talk me through this pick? Why did you pick Vayne?
Why did I pick Vayne?
Yeah.
Just because they had many tanks and I can easily lane against Galio, so like once, you know, late game hits, you one-shot everything, so yeah.
What were the win conditions of your draft here today?
I think mid lane, lane kingdom, and then we take it from there.
And can you talk to me about the Jin Zhao with the Hail of Blade? It seems like it's pretty broken right now. What makes it so strong?
I mean, yeah, it's just kind of broken, honestly. Like, you win any 1v1, and you even get. I even got surprised when I played against it the first time that you just proc the knock up so fast, and I don't know. There has to be made some changes about that one, but we will see. It also has some counterplay, so it's not like you can't play against it. But I think it's definitely something we will see more in the upcoming weeks.
We'll see about the next patch then. Other subject here, but I have to ask you guys, because we heard so much about Origin and the coaching staff around it, with Refresh, with Astralis. How is everything working? What are your weeks? What makes the coaching staff and the organization so strong as a whole, Nuke Duck?
It's because there is like a performance team back in Denmark where we live, and it's Casper that runs it, and he has a lot of like friends or colleagues that are like specializing in different fields of performance, and those guys are basically just trying to help us and Astralis to perform as well as we can, and they're, you know, very experienced, and they're very good in all across the field.
How about you, Cold? How different is it from what you knew so far with other organizations?
Quite different, I would say. For me, it's kind of like a perfect match. I've said this before in interviews, but I come from a background based a lot around sports, and what the performance team here in Origin wants to do is to bring us to become more professional athletes. So we're going to be esports athletes and focus a lot on what we're doing in the daily life to make us better players. And so living in Denmark and this environment is perfect for me, and I feel like this team will be performing at a very high level in the upcoming weeks.
And I'm really looking forward to see how you guys develop around the year. Thank you so much for joining me today.
You're welcome.
And to wrap up this day and this first week, we're going to send it back to Shox for post-game lobby. Take it away.
Thank you very much, and welcome everyone to the LEC post-game lobby. After our first week, all games are done and dusted. I'm Shox, and I'm joined by Dracos and the victorious Mythy. Welcome, gentlemen.
Oh man, it's good to be here. It's been so long.
Yeah, I mean,
since you have been here in Europe. It is good to have you back.
That. I mean, it's been a year. Like, come on.
That's long.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff.
Do you feel like you almost didn't miss a beat, and you're just back in Europe, and it's life as normal?
I mean, I definitely did miss a beat. It's been a year, but yeah, I mean, it's same old thing. You know, I've been here since nearly the start, so yeah, it feels good to be back. You know, like I know most of the people backstage, and yeah, everyone's welcomed me home, so it feels good. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I said it as well, and I think everyone probably said, "Yay, we're so happy to have you back." But of course, the inevitable question: not only are you back, you now got your first victory with Origin. Talk to me about that and about what probably is also relief and happiness around that first win.
I mean, yeah, it was bound to come, you know. I mean, we do have Patrick. He's 0-19 actually. So this is his. But yeah, I just definitely from playing a few games, we knew that we'd definitely have a win coming. And our goal is to just get in the wins for playoffs. So it's good that we beat Fnatic, which is supposed to be a strong team. You know, like it's very early, so some teams are lacking some fundamentals. So are we, but. Yeah, it feels good to beat Fnatic so early because that win is going to mean a lot to us. That's pretty much it. But a win is a win,
Yeah, absolutely. But it is a very important one. It could be down the line. That's true. Do you want to get in there, Drake?
Yeah, I was just going to say, overall, I felt like this game was much less about you and Patrick and much more about the kind of your top side of the map. But in your first game, you kind of showed a solid laning phase. This game, I'm going to be honest, you got picked on a lot. You died a lot. It's a rough life being Braum when there's 4 people in your lane. But overall, it does feel like each of the individual pieces of your team look pretty strong. We haven't seen all 5 of them be strong in tandem together yet, but are you feeling confident that this can be a top team in Europe by the end of the split, that you guys can push for that finals position?
We'll see. I don't want to say I'm feeling confident. I just want to reiterate that I'm feeling very comfortable in my team. Just like with my teammates, it just feels really natural and just awesome to play with them. Like. Yeah, the general feeling I'm getting is very positive, and that's really what I strived for coming back. So I'm just really happy, That's I don't know how it's gonna turn out, I had like for example last year, I had great expectations and it turned out pretty shitty. So it's always a gamble, but the most important thing is that you feel comfortable and you feel happy playing the game. That's what's most important.
Would you say that your initial kind of gut feeling is just positive for the org and the team? I believe yesterday the official said that.
For sure. Okay. Yeah, it's the way, like, it's exceeded my expectations in a very good way.
Could you give an example? Because the official named it as well. He said, I think Mithy, we offer him everything he expects from an organization. And I'd love to hear like some specific examples to that.
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, the official, like he puts up with me. I complain a lot. I've been through a lot of like tough things, growing into the esports industry. So I am very demanding, and yeah, I think he puts up with me very well on that. And yeah, so on that side of things, things are working. Like obviously, there's mistakes. It's a new org, but they kind of just tend to get fixed, or they're on top of things, and that's what I like to see. And then from the sports side, it just, I don't know, it just feels so good. Like the staff that we have is very focused on like the team atmosphere and communication within the teammates, and like the psychological aspect a little bit more than past teams I've been on, and that's, I think, a very important thing to have. And then other than that, like my teammates are also very good players, so that also helps.
And for me, it's really cool to hear very early on, not only because oftentimes you hear orgs kind of preach something, and you don't always get to hear from the background, from the player perspective, how it's actually working out. But obviously, Origin came in with these big statements about their plans for the organization, and now it's cool to hear both your teammates in Cold and Nukeduck in their interview, and also you now talking about so much of the stuff that goes into running this org and it actually being a positive experience, and not just for new players who haven't been in esports for a long time, but for you, for a veteran like you, like Nukeduck, like Cold.
I mean, yeah, I feel like I'm selling out a little bit too much right now. It's going well, but I've been through so much BS that I just want to say, like, it's going well now, Like I don't know how it's gonna go down the line, I'm careful. It's
you've been burned by love before.
You've been in esports a long time too, you know how it goes, and yeah, like right now it's going well. Hopefully it stays this way, but I'm not gonna like shoot too many praises because things go worse down the line. So yeah,
I think a lot of us, and probably a lot of people watching, we recognize this attitude completely, and especially for a competitive sportsman like you, you've been through a lot, so you just don't want to be like, yes, it's heaven, the world is great. It's one step at a time.
Yeah,
right?
exactly, and it's more about just staying in the present and being grateful of the things that you can learn to appreciate, and especially when you miss some of them, like very, very basic things that throughout my years like for example, the interaction between your teammates and how like you cope with them. You know, for example, when I joined Origin, like the old school Origin, you know, like the chemistry was there from the start. There was no working on it. There was no, like, I didn't have to force anyone to hang out or, you know, do stuff together and just kind of bond. It just happened naturally. Whereas in different situations, like in TSM, it was more forced, you know. It's just like, and it's not that it's a bad thing for TSM, you know. I'm not disregarding that. It's just every personality is different, and it's also about, you know, matching them together and everyone, you know, like we have like this meme in Origin. It's like everyone has to put in their 14%, you know, and trying to make things work, you know. But like, you know, let's say we're all going to go out for food, you know, and you're not dragging your 14%, then, you know, 4 people are going out, you know, even though you don't really want to go, you know, you kind of have to, you know, like help it out for the team. And that kind of mindset, you know, is down the line, it's really helpful because it bonds you and it lets you talk about your problems, you know. And that's very important.
I also love, to take us a little off track, the mindset that says, hey, Fnatic, do you remember that signature Vayne mid thing you did? It was like a highlight reel. Have you ever heard of a clapback? Because we're going to show you NukeDuck obliterating in that game.
The funny thing is, we were not, so it wasn't us that, like, we're not the guys that are like, all right, let's pick the Vayne mid, you know? It was just like, okay, guys, we're playing G2 and Fnatic first week. Damn, they're going to pull a Vayne on us if we pick Galio. So we better know what this is all about and let's like pick on it a little bit and see what's going on. And then we were like, oh, this is pretty good. Maybe we should be careful with the Galio pick, you know? And then Fnatic happened to be the ones pulling the Galio, and then we picked the Vayne. But it was more of a, like, we didn't plan it to be our counter pick, but it was more of us, let's be careful because these two teams are going to pull it against us.
But it was perfect.
Yeah,
I mean,
so perfect.
I love this because it doesn't ever sound like anyone in the LEC or LCS at any point has ever planned a Vayne mid. It sounds like it's always random,
like,
last minute.
Okay, let's do it.
He's like, I believe it's going to happen. It's going to work. Whatever, let's do it.
It paid off because NukeDuck is our Kia player of the game with 72% of the votes. I just think it's swagger upon swagger that they picked it, that you guys picked it, and it's Vayne versus Fnatic. Even if it wasn't pre-planned, it's very, very cool. So let's take a look at the league standings after that, because NukeDuck and Origin got 1 win on the board, but there's a couple of teams that got 2 wins on the board and that came out of the gate swinging, namely G2 Esports and Misfits Gaming. So, you know, I want to pick a couple of topics here. So let's start with the top of the table. Misfits, most recently, was the 4th game of the day. Wow. You know, Mithy, there's a lot of good members on that team. That's clear to everyone to see. They looked extremely scary this weekend. What do you think of them?
I think we're playing them next week.
Great.
So hopefully we don't int it bot lane as much as the other two have. And I mean, once that happens, we can maybe have a normal game. Because, I mean, it wasn't even about, like, I don't want to, so when I just said that, like, the other bot lanes hinted it, I don't really think it was that. It's just like, it just happens to be that Hansama just gets the kills. I don't know how they do it, but like, see here, he gets 2 kills and on a champ like Snowballs.
We were having a discussion before because Hansama, you know, he's the poster boy and we're always praising him, but, you know, sometimes it seems like they really want him to have those kills.
I mean, he's great, you know, at snowballing his leads, so why not? But yeah, hopefully it doesn't happen to us.
Yeah, and I was going to say, because you've had a good bot lane when you played against G2, at least for the laning phase, and you had a bit of a rougher bot lane on the bottom side today. Are you worried about, like, all that attention coming bot side for you and Patrick?
I'm never worried. I play the same every game, you know, like this game. So against G2, they had their style of playing, and we had a pretty good matchup, and I was feeling confident, so we won lane. Today we had a better matchup too. I was feeling confident, and then we just had some miscommunication, me and Patrick, where I wanted to go for a ward, he wanted to catch the wave as it arrives. So then we kind of split off. Because I expected him to, you know, to just like be with me so I can like jump to him, you know, over the Drake pit, and then I don't have to run away. So it was, then I have to use flash, then I die again because I have no flash. You know, it's a little bit of a snowball through miscommunication, and it happens, you know, like it's what kind of builds the team, you know, builds the bonds, is, you know, having some rough moments. So I mean, the game against Misfits, I don't know how it's going to turn out. You know, maybe we win lane, maybe we have another rough moment like the other two teams have had, and then we just learn from them, you know.
It's interesting because, like, the other top of the table contender, you've got this optimism for Misfits. The other top of the table contender got one of their wins off of you, and I was really, really keen on G2 Esports, but I'm curious what your take is on this team. A lot of people calling it a super team. How good do you think they are really, based on what you've seen so far?
I mean, they're good. They beat us, so I'm not going to say that they suck. They definitely have some really good players and some cocky players, you know, and that also builds on their strengths, you know, because once you're that confident, you're able to just, you know, get in the opponent's head. So that's a good thing by them. I think they'll probably, you know, roll over all the rookies because the way they play is like they're very confident in their own ability, and you kind of have to respect that. But if you give it too much respect, you know, then you just get rolled over. So that's what I think is the G2's biggest strength, is their individual skill and how they're able to push that skill through their team play and, you know, just snowball games. But Misfits is, I think it's more a team that, even though they have good individual players, they should be a more slow-paced team, even though these games have been pretty much stomps. I expect them to be a lot more, you know, slow-paced, kind of like old Misfits, where, you know, they build on leads and play it a little bit slower. G2 Esports, they're gonna be huge animals in a good way, you know. Like I'm sure they're gonna go good, you know.
We're gonna watch the schedules later, but I was talking to one of them, and I was like, "Who you're playing next week?" And they're like, "Rogue and Excel," and nothing against those teams, right? But if you see the opponents they had this week, G2, and how good they did, I want to see if that continues, because if you're looking at a possible 4-0, you know, then we're starting to speak of bigger numbers. But of course, I don't want to go that far.
But then you also have to think about, I mean, all their aside from Jankas, he's an old man just like I am, but everyone else is pretty young. So I don't, you know, like old Misfits, I think they were like 10-0 and then they lost one game and then they like rolled on their heads and started losing every game. So that's a possibility with G2. You know, they're experienced players, but you know, how like strong mentally are they going to be to, you know, push through their own limitations? And you know, like time will tell.
What do you make of, it's all very fun now in G2, we've heard, you know, like they're having all their fun. They even played rock, paper, scissors for the blue buff today in game. You know, picking all these wacky things. You know, is there an inherent danger in that maybe? Like, you know, maybe there should be a bit more control in this and that, or is it the case of if it's working, it's working? It's
a double-edged sword, yeah. I think it's a matter of, you know, having that fun, and then when like when shit hits the fan, they are able to, you know, like get the serious game on and, you know, improve. That's how it works.
So this is very specific, but back when you were on G2, there was this period of time where you guys were so dominant in Europe that you kind of talked about starting to play back and not taking every opportunity to just kill people in lane because it was bad experience. Do you think that that's something that this G2 lineup could consider against some of these lower tier teams? Because they are mechanically probably just going to smash a lot of the newcomers like Excel, like Rogue in these lanes. Do you think that they should take kind of that same approach that you did back during your time on G2, where you held off from just trying to stomp every team as quickly as possible?
Well, I'm not really sure anymore because of how the meta has evolved in a way, you know. Nowadays, with the whole tower minion shenanigans, you can kind of win the game without even taking Baron or getting a good setup. You know, you can just roll over the enemy team and, you know, just take their base before they can even do anything. So maybe it's the right time for them, you know. I think in the old G2 it was needed. Our scrims and so on, they didn't really like translate to stage perfectly, and we really had to, you know, keep the discipline so that we are then able to, you know, fight against this. Because of our, it was mostly because of our performance in 2016 that we didn't have the discipline on stage when we played Worlds, and then we just tried to change that. So we had to take on a different approach. Maybe G2 are just gonna be perfectly fine playing that style. Maybe they go to Worlds and shit the bed. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen, you know. But I mean, I wish them the very best, but hopefully
up until they face you again.
Second place, you know, and then I'm lifting the trophy. That's as much as I can wish them the best.
Great. About your expectations, of course, you know, you have this big history. You touched on it already. And G2, that G2 era was really the cream of the crop, right? That was super amazing. You have your history with OG as well. Not the best year, just coming off it. Do you feel like you have a different kind of outlook on the importance of immediate wins compared to how good you feel with your team? Because I can only imagine that when you're in a team like G2 where you're winning all the time, it's like second place is not even on your mind ever. You got to have a different mindset now because you guys are starting from the bottom again.
Well, I think, I mean, I don't know. I think it's just, I feel like experience and, you know, just things that happen in your life kind of build character. And I'm happy to say that all of my experiences have, like, I've made something positive out of all of the experiences I've had in my career. And for me, I'm just very happy where I am. I don't really care about G2, you know. I don't really want to talk about them anymore, you know. Like it's fine, you know. Like I hope they're happy, you know. I hope they lose too, but you know, like that's as much as it takes, you know. I'm not really gonna go deep into that. Yeah.
Final question on you personally. We talk about how you feel and all that and the expectations, but skill level, of course, you've been playing for a very long time, and we know that doesn't have to be a blocker. Soaz is still at the top of his game as well. Does it ever cross your mind, or do you ever evaluate, you know, am I getting worse at this mechanical combos? Do I have to practice things more than I used to? Is that a focus point, or do you not feel anything of that at all? Just feel like you're still playing the way you have been?
Yeah, I mean, of course, it comes across my mind that if it didn't, then I wouldn't be where I am. You know, I always have to constantly be looking at myself and reflect on both my mechanical skill, my game knowledge, and my overall personality, and grow through them, and grow on all of them. So that's something that always crosses my mind. But from there to, you know, feeling bad about myself, I don't really see how that really. No, not that it helps. It's like one doesn't relate to the other, you know. Like that, one thing is growth, and the other thing is like feeling depressed, and those are totally different things. And I don't think it would be unwise of me to listen to what, you know, some basement dwellers have to say about me online. So it's, you know, I'm totally happy with myself, even if I have a bad performance like I had today. You know, it's not really gonna change my life in a, you know, I'm not gonna die from this. You know?
And plus, since you've been back, you've, I think, spammed the most solo queue of any pro account I've seen, at least from what's publicly available, not including anybody's Smurfs. I don't have all that information, but according to OPGG Mythy account, you're like, what, 140 games on Gragas in the preseason? You're going in, you're like 12 hours a day on solo queue.
I mean, I'm definitely having a lot of fun just being back here and with League, you know, especially having that, you know, like you just said, having that thought of like, am I good enough? Am I not? You know, it gives me the drive to play more. So yeah, I'm super happy, you know. And when I go home, I want to play, and I feel happy playing. So that's really all that counts. I know that regardless if I have a good game or a bad game, there's people like there's a support network behind me that loves me no matter what. So that, I mean, I don't have to, you know, feel bad about having a bad game.
That's awesome. I think it's
bad.
great the way you put that. It's not about feeling bad because you're doing bad. Like, screw that noise, ideally, right? You don't want to feel like that, but it's about always looking for the next growth opportunity.
Yeah, obviously it's not easy, you know. Like I'm saying this, you know, and I'm gonna go through bad moments, you know. But like in the grand scheme of things, that's how you have to think, and it's not just about esports and this. It's really life, you know. Like it's gonna help in every kind of way, and yeah, that's really how it works.
Absolutely. And a positive note, you guys won. That was great. Before we move on, I do also want to just touch on the big shocker of the weekend, Fnatic going 0-2. I think that deserves a couple of words. Of course, they're working with their new mid laner, Nemesis, who maybe, you know, plays differently than Caps. Drakos, what is your verdict on everything?
Well, first, I think they need the Mythy TED Talk that he just gave us now about not taking it personally and improving a goal. Saying that was fantastic. Cue that up at some point.
Inspired.
But for me, I mean, I don't want to call it a false start at this point because it was two games that were really rough, and it just honestly to me feels like the team.
It's a bad start.
It is a bad start for sure. They don't feel coordinated. It feels like a lot of things are going wrong. I think they showed more today in their game versus you than they did in their first game, which kind of honestly surprised me. And I'm hoping that the team can continue to develop. But for me, it doesn't feel like individuals are super underperforming. It just more feels like people are pretty consistently in the wrong place.
I feel like they have just. No offense to the 6-star general, you know, he's been with me in this, but yeah, I think that they don't have like the best read in the meta, and since they're not like a perfect team like they were, or close to perfect team like they were last split, having a draft that where they get outscaled like they had today, or even yesterday they had a draft where the other team had easier win conditions that they had. So if you don't have like that ease going into the game, it's just much harder to outplay your opponents if they're of a similar skill level. And I feel like that's also playing against them this week. Yeah.
That's very interesting because it's in stark contrast to the people that are controlling the meta and people like G2 and Misfits that are finding these things that are working out fantastically for them, indeed. Well, we'll see how that evolves. Now, we also have another order of the day. There were a lot of great plays today, and with the last game in the books, we're also going to check out some of the highlights from week 1 in our Alienware big plays.
Is there some brown plays there from me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one where you died?
We're supposed
The second or the third
You see
death?
where I stopped with my flash for like 2 seconds, like what the hell just happened?
Missy, we need to do this for the sponsors. First up, SK Gaming Selfmade got the perfect start to his LEC career as he and his team took down Fnatic after some huge Sejuani engages. The reigning champions had no chance against the Fury of the North.
Fury of the North!
Hyperion takes a lot of damage, but they're chunking down Whippo. Bone Skewer catches onto Dreams. Broxah was looking for an opportunity, didn't find it. That's a shutdown. That's already a bounty gold off of Broxah. But look at Reckless. He's forced to flash. Here comes Selfmade, swinging that flail around. Whirlip continues to chase. His keeper's vertical be available so soon. The beautiful stun. Reckless is down. SK Gaming get 2 huge bounties.
Lucian the flash. Lucian the flash. I wanna go in. Look. Lucian. Keep going. I got flash. I have no mana. I can't do anything. Do you have TP? No, I don't have TP.
Broxah's caught himself onto that siege minion, but he decides not to follow through with the resonating strike. That's a stun onto Reckless. The dive forward. Self-made and a true shot barrage from Crown Shot. Kill Reckless.
Yeah, the Fury of the North is an alternate Game of Thrones story. No, all jokes aside, great stuff. Self-made is really someone we have our eye on. Also, it's one of those rookies that comes from the LVP from playing in Spain. It seems to be that there's a lot of good teams and good configurations that are coming out of there. I'm just looking at you because you're from Spain.
Great Spanish players.
Yeah.
No, but Selfmade, you're also a big fan of him, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, Selfmade looked incredible across those games. Very good early pathing. Obviously, today's game was a little bit of a different story, but day 1 looked pretty good for him overall, and I think it's a strong start from a rookie. I want to see him develop a little bit more, but I think it is just continuing the train of the LVP. Honestly, like 3 of 5 members from Vitality were rookies. Obviously, there's Ghost there from the LVP too. Another 3 members coming from the LVP. At this point, the LVP is the LEC Farm League. I'm just going to say that now. Like, we are just looking at your #1 team to just like give it up. Like, who are you going to send our way for next year?
Yeah.
It's nice to see that the do I call it challenger scene now?
No, you call it the regional leagues, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, it's nice to see that all these like regional leagues are really building talent. You know, I feel like that's kind of lacking in NA a little bit more.
Oh, okay.
So it's a great thing, you know. But
I can't
the
tell
point
if
I'm trying
that was a burn.
it's not really a burn. The point I'm trying to make is that it's so nice to play solo queue because all these like regional players are pushing you. You know, they're really. You know, they're really pushing you to become better, even just solo queue. You know, I can't make challenger. You know, it's so hard.
You can't make challenger, but you can beat Fnatic. Hey!
I have a great team. I have a great team.
It's just kidding. Oh no, I'm going to have so many hate in this show. I'm sorry.
The Fnatic fans are out for blood right now. I don't know. This was not the time.
The Origins fans are going to defend you, Shucks. Don't worry. We got a great fan base too. You know?
We talked the whole year about Fnatic. They're great, of course, but like today, it's time for OG.
It is the Origin. And obviously Fnatic, I think a lot of people expect to rise back up. But for now, they can take a week of being the butt of a few jokes after getting a World's Finals appearance. So you take the good with the bad.
Absolutely. So let's move on quickly to the next one. A much underrated skill in League of Legends is to press R. Now, it might sound easy, but in the key team fights, this can be the difference between win and lose. Now, our next replay features G2's Jankos and Vitality's Jizuke, who got their teams the win by, you guessed it, they pressed R.
Just going straight back to it.
And we saw this from Vitality yesterday, repeatedly forcing the Baron. This time the Karthus Requiem is up. They get that one out, 5k. Gonna drop down. Jackal ready to go forward, has been locked up by the Miasma.
Slowly, Kasa's really strong.
I move.
I can TP.
Look at him. I'm dead, maybe.
I'm TP. Alright, here's the flank from Alfaro. They're trying to collapse onto 3 members. Oh, Patrick.
No! But this is the bait. Patrick now running for his life. Oh no, no, here comes the engage from Mickey X. Jankos is there waiting in the wings. Requiem not quite available, but they don't even need it. Wonder now getting the fear. Oh god, it is an absolute massacre. Jankos running down cold. Mana, the only thing that's going to stop him from killing everybody on this lineup. G2 taking their time as they run through this OG lineup. 4-man knockup for Alfari, at least it looks cool because it's not going to save his life.
It is not enough as G2 just obliterate OG once again. Ultimate
Cole
coming out, and that will kill Cole. The
Shot in the
ace
back
for G2 Esports.
I will ult, okay, just for fun. I can ult. Now I can ult.
Save it.
No, please, let me.
I mean, I'm playing my first game as an AD bot. I have to do. Ah! The boss? Yeah, just can we get in him?
He ulted just
I
for
will
fun,
all
maybe.
just for fun.
That was a rough one.
Is it a frustrating one? Because you're like, and you know what? I mean, I'm not calling it Jankos because he wasn't feeling well, and he made sure we knew that he wasn't feeling well, and then
He shared that pain with the entire OG lineup, I think, that game.
Yeah.
That
You're
was
like,
just...
Not only is this guy not feeling well, but we're losing super hard to them, and all he has to do is press R. Frustrating.
Yeah, that was a rough game.
Yeah.
When you're winning that hard, you get a rock, paper, scissors for blue buff.
Yeah.
You get a push R for fun, you know?
All
That's
right.
what you win when you get that far ahead.
Let's take a look at someone else who pressed R with a reduced cooldown on Tumble, I believe. I can't remember. Finally, Vitality's Attila took complete control of the last fight against Splice. I am right. They did their best to kite out the tumbling Vayne, but this was their final hour.
But of course, the perfect setup could come out. Attila now going to try to back away. VisiCharge trying to move over, but combo is there on the flank. Now the ulti coming in. There's the Requiem. Health bar's getting cut down. Jackdrill's still alive, but we now going to bust out with a stopwatch there. VisiCharge taken down. Humanoid O'Donnell is lone suffers with the Karthus in the melee range. Kabe running as fast as he can. Attila now picked up. He can't sell. He can't move out. Oh my! Just deliver it to him.
Now, go around. Zack is engaging. Yeah. Okay. Kill Sion. Kill Brom. Kill Sion together. Kill Sion. Peel. Don't Cassion.
Flash on no police.
Hey, help me. I'm coming.
Nice.
I want to say two things. One, Attila put that beautifully. Two, if the two people on your team with no damage engage on the Vayne, of course she's going to look super broken.
Yeah,
like she just
exactly.
eats tanks, and your Cassio and your Sivir are a literal mile away when that fight kicks off. Attila's like, please just give me my highlight reel.
I mean, Vayne is amazing right now on the patch as well, but the whole game they were behind. But you had that lingering feeling of like, oh, it takes one fight for a champion like this, and for Attila. So
I love how he said, like, I'm so good at this game.
Let's also check out the action we've got coming up next week, starting with Fnatic versus Team Vitality. Yes, my voice changed because that is hype. That's going to be great. We also have Rogue versus Splice. XL G2. XL, of course, had their first win.
Oh, my boy, Dehan.
Schalke SK and Origin Misfits. Oof. Spicy.
Look, you and Dehan are both going to have a rough day. He has to go toe-to-toe with G2. You got to go toe-to-toe with Misfits. That's a tough schedule.
That's awesome.
For them, you mean?
Yeah, really hard.
My schedule is fine. Like,
Do we think Fnatic bounces back versus Vitality after a week?
I think right now it's easier for Vitality to adjust and improve from the games that they had this week than it is for Fnatic. There's a lot to fix on Fnatic, and Vitality similarly struggled. They really exploited Splice's weakness rather than, I think, 100% being the better players. They kind of tripped over the finish line in that Splice game more than, dominated it.
Yeah.
But with 4 of the 5 members remaining on the Vitality lineup, I just expect them to play more aggressive, whereas a lot of the fundamental issues that were there for Fnatic, I just don't see being fixed in a single week.
Missy?
I think we're going to win against Misfits.
Yeah, all right, fantastic. Well, it's going to be some great matches. It's been a long weekend, guys. A lot of
Just
great
some
matches
of them.
next week. I also want to remind you guys that we've created a new channel on YouTube for this year, youtube.com/LOL Esports VODs. And there you will be able to find all the games from the LEC, the LPL, the LCK, and the LCS. And then you will also be able to watch this whole thing again on our rebroadcast starting at 7 p.m. Pacific time. That is 4 a.m. Central European Summer Time. So, if you're having a couple of cheeky beers, you come back, you can just watch the rebroadcast as well. Fantastic. Thank you very much for joining me, Mithy. It was absolutely a pleasure talking to you, as always.
Same. It's nice to be back here.
It's awesome to have you
good
back.
to have you back, man.
Didi also, of course.
Yeah,
congratulations on your first.
You're the star. I missed you. I missed you. It's been a long time.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. Everyone is friends and loves each other, and we're going to sign off because it's time for us to call it a night from Berlin. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week for more LEC action. Buenas noches.
Peace.
I think. Okay.
Drops in with the killer instinct. Yes, a death sentence lands, but its sentence eats Nick not to death. The box comes out and G2 are between two turrets, easily going to set up yet another kill for Wonder. Nexus turret is falling. The kills are not done yet. The franchise man upset is down.
I stun. Lissandra. 1 second. Watch out. Stop.
Bloody.
Lissandra, guys. Lissandra. I speed you. You got you? Nice.
The second follows thereafter, and as the Nexus is killed, it's an XL win over Rogue.
This goes down, it'll turn immediately. Northscared is here first on the roam, but Jizuke is going to get that death-defying passive. Clips him with it. Of the ulti coming in. There's the Requiem. Hellbar's getting cut down. Jackdal's still alive, but we now going to bust out with a stopwatch there. Busy trying to take it down. Keeping O'Donnell as lone suffers the Cardinals in the melee range. Kabe running as fast as he can. Until now picked up. He can't sell, he can't move out. Oh my! Just deliver it to him! Game turning in the favor of Vitality. The 1-1 curse alive and well for the Splice lineup at Vitality, reminding us how they earned their spot at Worlds.
Don't place that. Don't flash. Buy time.
They're all dead.
Yeah, you don't need to overchase.
I'm just chasing this guy because he's a little weasel.
I'm going mid. What's CBR?
And that is just an incredible performance from SK in what was meant to be a back-and-forth boxing match. Isvitz just turned it into a street fight, and they beat SK into the dirt. It's Medi. Hey, Medi. Woo! Let's go! Fnatic going all in. They know they only have one shot to do it. How far he goes golden, and now Fnatic had to get on the back foot because already there's so much damage coming out, and Nukeduck hasn't even joined the party yet. He sets a load of Reckless knocks it back. Can't quite get the kill. The curtain's open. Nemesis down from Fnatic, and this is another kill. Hinasak falls. 3 down. Whippo falls as well. It's over. It's done. Origin see the Nexus in their sight, and Nukeduck flashes forward for Reckless. Gets back to the fountain. Maybe Reckless can hold on. One Nexus tower down. Origin 5 men strong. Open up hell on the second, and Reckless and Bronson can do nothing about it. Origin write the next page in their history by beating Fnatic.